How you doing? My name is Jake Kaminsky with Kaminsky Chassis Fabrication, or KFab, here today to kind of give you the first episode or the first rundown of what we've got going on here behind me on our frame jig. This is going to be a 66 C10 Longbed coilover chassis. So built from scratch, as you can see. This is out of 4x3 tubing, 125 wall, heavy stuff. Basically, the customer wants a pretty nasty C10. It'll be a boosted LS platform motor. We've got an LSA Block at the machine shop already. It's getting a stroker build, I think like a 416, 418 build, twin turbos, and coilover. Doesn't want the bed to be cut or shortened or raised at all, you know, stock bed height. So we've got a very limited amount of basic drop that we can go with to maintain clearances. Basically, the limitation is on the pumpkin, where the pumpkin will come up and hit the bed basically first. So pretty limited as far as that goes. So the ride height's not gonna be super slammed, but it'll be built with proper racing geometry. Front and rear, we're doing a 4-link in the rear with a panhard, coilovers all the way around. Actually, he's also doing air spring helpers in the back because he's planning on hauling around some loads like some electric bikes and some other gear and things like that. So want it as low as possible, but still have the ability to carry around some loads. So doing air helpers in the rear. Yeah, so basically what we've got so far, I've got the main frame rails pretty much assembled all the way to the front here. And again, like I said, out of 4x3 tubing, I basically laid everything out on the jig here and built everything on its side to start, using the edges of the jig as kind of the datum line, because everything that I've measured and blueprinted is all off of the bottom side of the chassis upwards. So yeah, that's how I get all my heights, angles, measurements. Everything's done from the rear end forward, as far as keeping things nice and square, as well as keeping things exactly the same length as stock. Once I got the main frame rails done on the sides, I then tipped it up like this. And now, as you can see, I'm starting to work on the cross members for various areas. We've got the transmission cross member tacked in place. That'll get finalized and fried in when we know for sure where the tranny mount will be. It should be right there, but I'm just gonna leave it tacked in for place. This is the 2-piece drive shaft bearing carrier hanger that's already done, and then the rear just to hold things in place. And as you can see, everything is clamped to keep everything located on the jig, and that way I can keep everything square. So basically I've got it clamped to a piece of angle iron to the side of the jig, side of the frame, and then down both the front and rear, and then also front for the kick-up. You can see that there with that square tubing. And then this piece here is just keeping the distance between the two frame rails the same throughout the entire chassis, exactly to spec, so that way this front frame cross member here, which actually holds the radiator, is already marked in those two places and will get put in place. But basically fish plated everything to make sure that every single weld is really, really well reinforced. Did the fish plates on both the inside and outside of the frame rails. Lots and lots of welding. There's over 320 inches of linear weld on those alone. So this thing's gonna be pretty interesting. This will be a start to what is to come. I'm gonna be posting roughly once a week. So if you wouldn't mind, hit that subscription button and the notification bell so that way you get, updates on this build process. This thing's gonna be pretty interesting. We're doing everything in-house, besides the machining of the motor. Pretty much everything else is done in-house. The entire frame, all the body work, the paint, everything will all be done. So shooting for around 900 wheel horsepower is what this is heading to be. Yeah, it's gonna be quite the unit. There's a bag chassis back there. That's a 64. That's already done. Just finishing up body work and assembly on it, but this is what we're gonna focus mainly on here. So before I fry in this front cross member here, I wanted to show you something. I've removed the mill scale around the joint where I'm gonna be welding, just with a little roll-lock stripper disc. And then I always spray everything with some anti-spatter. It really makes a big, big difference as far as how much spatter you do, or don't get rather. That's not even been touched after it's been welded. Plus, it adds a bit of rust protection because it's basically an oil. This one's water-based, so the fumes are not nearly as toxic as some of the other anti-spatter. So I really spray it every single time before I weld anything because it really, really keeps everything clean, and then there's no cleanup of all that spatter like you're used to seeing typical of MIG welding. So I'm really happy with that. I'll put a link in the description below on where you can find that anti-spatter. Really affordable, and it's an aerosol can. It sprays super nice. Okay, so I am working on cutting the main cross member in the front that goes underneath the motor and holds the front suspension pieces. And what I did was I went on Fusion 360 where I designed this whole thing, and then I took the shape out, which is the exact shape that needs to be cut in order for the correct angle to be in there and how it sits in exactly how I designed. So I took this piece and then 3D printed it as a guide, and as you can see I've already drawn it up, and then made a couple of cuts, plunge cuts basically, with this dry cut saw to basically show where the edges are, the flat spots, and then this rest I'm going to cut out with a plasma cutter, and then cut my angle in it that I need and do the other end the same. So this is an excellent pencil that I picked up as well. It's a Markall Silver Streak, and it's like a grease pencil basically. I'll put a link in the description below where you can get these too, but you can see it's super bright. It's not like soapstone, it doesn't want to rub off, it doesn't blow off. It's great, super bright, and I like the precision of it. You don't wear out Sharpies this way either. It's excellent. Progress so far. All the main cross members, including this main one here, are all fried in place. So we got plenty of room for the oil pan. I already welded the underside. I got the body mounts cut over there on the back. Everything's all fish plated. Main rear cross member back here. Everything turned out real nice. Really happy with the progress so far. So the main frame is done. Next is body mounts. Then, I don't know, we'll see. Probably rear end mounts, and then I'll work on the front end fabrication and keep knocking away. So, just figured I'd give you a short update here. I'm liking the progress so far. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that way you're notified when we upload new videos. And head to KaminskyChassisFab.com for our patch panels as well as tubular drop spindles and more. Thank you for watching, and take care.